Hello there, I'm Scotty. You're not. Feels like Sequel-A-Thon 3 is going on forever. But we are continuing. We are on Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3. Yes, this is still part of exploring the MCU. I just figured I could add this in there. Yes, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is my second viewing, much like with Fast X. I watched it last weekend. This time it was my son and my mom, so we were able to watch it together. And I didn't get emotional when we watched it together, but this time I did. I cried. I cried. And I don't care who knows it. I cried. I ain't too proud to show it. I cried when you said goodbye. Do I make a entire song? Anyway, so this time around, we have a villain, the High Evolutionary, who's not the same High Evolutionary that I remember from Spider-Man Unlimited. We'll talk about that in a little bit, because I felt like they could have used some of those aspects. I think people, the villain. Okay. And the plot is that he's after Rocket because he has connections to Rocket's creation. And we get to see Rocket's past, albeit through... I have some issues with this movie, but they're not big ones. I don't know where to start. This almost didn't happen. You know what I mean? This movie almost didn't happen, because you go all the way back. After Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and everything, James Gunn, he was kicked out of a possible third film because of the tweets he sent out. And then, like, all these cast members from Guardians of the Galaxy, they stood up for him, and he was brought back. But he had to do the Suicide Squad first. Then he came back, he did this, and now he's going back to DC to do their universe, or his own selfish universe of movies that nobody knows about and aren't going to make as much money as they think they are because they're personal projects for James Gunn and not well-known names. That's my issue with this DCU, is that out of all of them, I think I knew Superman, Batman, the Green Lanterns, Booster Gold. The rest are very unknown stuff, and people are confused why Blue Beetle's not making it. It's not a big name. Nobody even knows what Blue Beetle is. I can't even talk my kid into buying a toy for his birthday. When we went to Super Target, hey, look at Blue Beetle. He's like, yeah, Spider-Man, or look, the Flash, because, and you can say, well, the Flash didn't make much money either. That's on Ezra Miller. That's on Ezra Miller, and that's on Ezra Miller. That's really what it is. It's not the IP that this movie's based on. It's him. But anyway, so yeah, here we go. We got this. All right, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and pretty good. But like I said, I do have some issues. So we actually start off with a little bit of backstory. So let's talk about the villain first. The High Evolutionary. When I heard they were bringing the High Evolutionary, I'm like, yes. Then they showed me who's playing it, and I went, why? Not because he's African, I don't care. Okay? The High Evolutionary to me is some old white guy with a gray beard and bushy hair. That is the High Evolutionary. The one I know from Spider-Man Unlimited. And they even have Counter-Earth in this. They have him creating his own society. But they're not all animal-like, even though he does, like Rocket and some others. They're more alien-like. They're like squid people and cockroach people and stuff, I guess you could do that. I guess he is feminine animals, but, Just, like, they show his planet in this, and it's just like Earth. Like, everything is just like Earth. They show it, I didn't know that's what it was. They showed it in a trailer with the Drax hitting the little alien girl with a ball. And it's just like they're driving through, they're just like Earth. It's just like Earth, and I went, this is not what I know Counter-Earth to be. They called it Counter-Earth. Like, no, Counter-Earth is futuristic in nature. It's like Earth, but it's counter. It's highly futuristic. We are still in the modern stages, in the modern technology. They have higher technology. That's the whole point of it being a Counter-Earth. And that it kind of irked me the first time I was sitting watching this. I'm like, yeah, that's really, I don't know. I understand that a budget is a thing, so you can't really, do all that, but it seems lazy on their part to just say, oh, it's just like Earth, because we don't have enough money to make it futuristic. Just do it. When it comes to High Evolutionary himself, he starts out as a good villain, but then devolves into a one-trick pony of, I need P13, I need P13, I need Rocket. He wants Rocket, that's all he wants, and to the point his own people turn on him, which is another one of those things that I hate in movies, where you have something happen, someone does something, and it changes the way they think, and then they're killed right away, so that scene didn't matter in the slightest. All of his people turn on him, and, like, his head lady is like, okay, disengage all the damaged parts of the ship and retreat. And as soon as she says that, he goes, ah, and blows everyone up and they die. Then what was the point of them turning on him? You could have just had the Guardians kill them in battle. They could have just died in battle. I don't know. I just don't understand that point. And then this big battle, like, this is MCU. We have big battles with bad guys, right? Like, you can say that the first one was a dance-off with Ronan, the accuser. But the second one, you have this battle with Peter channeling Pac-Man to fight his own father. And here, it's basically a beatdown. He gets, if anything, they all team up to beat the shit out of him. Drax stabs him. And then he falls down, and then he reveals that his face has been horribly mutilated by Rocket earlier. In you see the flashbacks. We'll get to the flashbacks in a second. But I feel like they were presenting us with a great villain. And when it was time to deal with the villain and end the villain, first of all, I don't think he should have died. I think they should have been a continuing villain. Like, I don't know, the High Evolutionary was a menace in Spider-Man Unlimited. I keep going back to that. He was a menace. He even had, like, a giant, what's the word? Well, it's in front of you. It's not in front of you. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that's there, but it's not there. Hallucination, or, lenticular holograph. He was holographic. He was holograph, and he, holographic head in that. And here he's just guy walks around wearing purple dress thing. I don't know. I just didn't seem to like the villain as much. And then that brings us to Adam Warlock, who was wasted in this movie. When Will Poulter was cast, I have my speculations. And for his part, he does do a good job. But it feels like they set this up in the second one, and then they were like, okay, we're going to go in this direction. Like James goes, okay, I want to bring the High Evolutionary in. This is going to be my last film I do. I'm going to bring High Evolutionary in, and I'm going to tell Rocket's story. And his brother's like, hey, didn't you introduce that Adam Warlock guy in the last one? Shit. Just put him in the movie. Have him do something. We'll figure it out. That thing. Because he feels like an afterthought. Like James Gunn had built this story and then realized, oh shit, I introduced Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock, who's supposed to be pivotal to the Infinity Saga, the Infinity War story, who wasn't in an Infinity War story, probably should have showed up in Endgame, didn't, is now here. And what's more, is they go out of their way to explain that he's not fully matured because the High Evolutionary broke him out of his cocoon early. And I'm sitting here now thinking, then why did you tease it in the last one? The last one, if you forget, took place in 2014. Which means it's been 11 years MCU time since they teased him in a cocoon. 11 years and he's still not all the way done? Because, lest you remember, in MCU time, it's 2025. By this point, it could be 2026. If they added Christmas specials, it could be 2026. Early 2026. So, yeah, I don't know. And then Gamora. A part of me wants to just say, if you were just gonna... If you were... Why not just leave the character dead? If all you're going to do while bringing it back is to have this forced. It seems very forced to me. Thing where Peter's trying to tell her, like, you know, we love each other and everything. And he's like, she's not the same Gamora. I'm not the same Gamora. And I'm sitting there going, yes, you are. Because she's not from another timeline. She's not from another parallel world. She's from the past. She's from the past. So, she would be the same Gamora. I know that the MCU's time travel rules are way fucked up. Because they decided that they had to make sure that all the bullshit that they said that they'd done had to stay. While also bringing back people from the past. Instead of just changing it, having consequences like the Flash show does. You know, time travel has consequences. But whoever decided on MCU Ray of Time Travel was like, we're going to have no consequences. And we're going to have everyone still be alive. And I felt like maybe you should have just kept Gamora dead. If all you're going to do is have them argue about how she's not the same Gamora. I don't know. I feel like that decision is, you know. And I also felt that maybe Gamora wasn't needed in this movie. All she does is bitch and complain with Quill until towards the end of the film where she decides to help them. And it's not really that big of a character decision either. Because she's all against this. And she has to fly the ship. She's still kind of, oh, fine, I'll do it. And fly the ship. And then when they get to this, then we have to save all the people that is in there. They need our help. And she's the one that's against it. And we get the No Sleep Till Brooklyn song playing in the background while everyone decides to turn, which is fine. But then her decision is just like, oh, fine. It's not a whole character moment. Nothing. There's no big character, for me, there's no big character moment for her. She's the same character she was at the end. And all we get from it is, he says, well, we were special. And she's like, well, I bet we were, or something like that. Or, but you got, you know. But she doesn't really change. She doesn't stay with the Guardians. She doesn't stay with Quill. She goes on. And I guess that's because they were separating the Guardians anyway. And we'll get to that. But she goes back she's with the Ravengers, which is also very confusing because the last time we saw Peter was trying to find her. Now, yes, Peter doesn't know she's with the Ravengers. But he's a Ravenger. He even says, you're not a Ravenger, I'm a Ravenger. He was raised by them, so, yeah. They do mention his grandfather, who's still on Earth, would be in his 90s. They mention him. You know. And they, you know. But those are really my big issues with it. Before this, when this came out, there were people going on Twitter saying, "Don't bring your kids! Don't bring your kids! There's animal cruelty in this. You don't want to show your kids." And even I had a bit of a conversation with Sean Chandler, where I'm like, "It's a movie. It's really that bad?" And he's like, "Yes, it is bad. Like he wasn't bringing his kids, and not bringing them." I guess it's depends on how much your kids are able to handle. Because even me watching this, I'm just like, it's not that bad. They're not like anything that could be considered animal cruelty is from afar away. They're not showing them digging into animal, skin or, ripping their heads off or anything, which is what I would consider animal cruelty. There's animal deaths, but animal deaths happen in many movies. They're not real animals, they're CGI. It's not like they're actually killing animals. It's not the first Friday the 13th where they killed a snake. A real snake. No, I think people went way overboard with it. Don't bring your kids, there's animal cruelty. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's, honestly, judge by what you think your kids can handle, or just ask them, Because I don't think it's nearly as bad as people were saying, Or maybe because of what they were saying, I was expecting worse. Who knows? I don't like the reveal that the Sovereign is just another creation from the High Evolutionary, because in the last one, the Sovereign were held high as this big... they're called the Sovereign, for God's sakes. To know they're just another level on something some bigger guy created, it shrunk them down for me. They were kind of the big villains in the last one, and now it's kind of like, bing, flicked away because we need to make this guy better. It's in the writing, oh, well, these guys were important in the last one, but they're not as important in this one, so we're going to shrink them down and make this guy the new big bad guy in it. But, yeah, now, to get to some of the good parts in this, the soundtrack. The first time I watched this, I'm like, okay, some of this music I'm not getting it. And this time, I kind of did. I love the no sleep till Brooklyn part, although I thought it came sooner than it did. I assumed they were on Counter-Earth when it happened, but no, they're on a ship, and it was when they're going to save the other people and stuff, but that, characters are also really good, and they kind of explain Groot here, because Gamora can't understand what Groot is saying, just like Peter couldn't understand him when in the first Guardians, but now he can understand him, but by the end, Gamora can understand him, and so I think that it's Groot's choice. Whoever he wants to understand him, he'll let them. Like whoever he trusts, it's a trust thing. And so by the end of this, you hear him say, "I love you all," or "I love you all. I love you guys. I love you guys." And you hear him say that, which he said "we are Groot" before, but he said, "I love you guys," which to me tells you that he now trusts the audience. What else is there to talk about? There's some decent action scenes in this that are pretty good. I think, like the beginning of this, right? You have Adam Warlock showing up, and this is where I really have the issue starts. Like he shows up, and I'm like, why is he going after Rocket? Then it's revealed he's and then they had to reveal where the Sovereign is just working, was created by the High Evolutionary, and they're working together, and I'm just like, no, that diminishes what they were in the last one, And then, like, Adam Warlock, he's basically Jason Statham from Furious 7. He just keeps showing up here and there. And I felt like his turn should have come sooner. He ends up becoming an ally, but it's not till Peter is floating in space and almost dying, that he comes in and he rescues him. And I felt like, because the whole thing is that his mother, Aisha, whatever her name is, dies. And so he's thrown back with this little creature thing, and they hold him captive. But I felt like there should be instead of holding him captive and him breaking out and attacking the Guardians anyway, even though they sort of saved his life, it should have been to have a conversation where he's like, the High Evolutionary killed my mother. I don't care about loyalty anymore. I want revenge. And so he's working with them. But I also feel like if that was the case, the movie probably would have been over faster because he would have been able to. But that's the thing. He's also powered down from what he should be. I mean, people made a big deal when he was announced, right? Because he's one of the big guys. And he's just a lackey in this. He's reduced to a lackey. Like I said, because of, James Gunn probably forgot that he was introduced, Maybe somewhere James Gunn thought maybe they would use him for Endgame or Infinity War or something, but it never happened. Who knows? But they hint at Nebula. There might be something between Nebula and Quill, like a love thing. But even James Gunn has said he never intended into it. It was just a joke. And I felt like that it was never really a full circle with Drax and Mantis. It's sort of an unspoken thing between them, which I guess would be okay, but like, but yeah, this movie was there's good things, right? There were some explosive action scenes. You get this. It's another one of those movies where we have to go here to get this because when Rocket is attacked. Okay, so here's another thing I'm confused on. If Phantom Warlock was trying to take him was trying to kidnap Rocket and take him to High Evolutionary, why did he wound him? Why did he injure him? Why did he hurt him? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. But it's there because they need to use the med pack on him, which I've never seen his med packs before, but they can heal a broken arm and stuff. And when they try to use it on him, it messes up. There's some kind of like key thing in there to stop anyone from triggering him from tampering with him, which I feel like should have been brought up before. Like, how many times has he been hurt before? I don't know. But also, this leads to, for most of the film, Rocket is out. And most of his story is told through flashbacks that only the audience is seeing. I mean, they do find out about what happened later, but like, it's only the audience is seeing these flashbacks. And again, like when you see the trailers, there's a spot where he and Lila are hugging, and you think, oh, it's because they're reuniting after a long time. No, this is part of the flashback. And I know James Gunn loves to do this, but he's just introducing characters to kill them off later. And these 3 new characters, Lila, Teefs, because he's a walrus, big teeths, you see. And Floor, because she was laying on the floor. We had to search hard to think of those last 2 names, didn't you? Yeah, and, as much as they kept talking about, they're going to escape, we're going to get out of here, fly away, you knew they were going to die, because we haven't seen them before, but, no, they die. Lila first, because the Evolutionary kills them, and then there's a shootout, and when Rocket turns around, Teefs and Floor are dead. On the floor. Sorry. Had to say it. Sorry. But yeah. And that would cause him to freak out and scratch the hell out of them. Basically, he's an experiment. He's the only one where the the high brain function worked on, and so that's why he wants him back so he can duplicate it, I guess. And that's his whole thing, because these people are stupid, and Drax can understand these people that he has, these higher functioning people that are stupid because they don't, he can speak it because he's also stupid. And they start to do character development with him where he comes to realize that he's stupid and they're criticizing him for it. Only for Mantis to go, forget that. He's like, oh, did you see how I destroyed that door? It's like, no, you were giving him character development. Now he forgot it all. Why did you do that? For a funny moment? No. I feel like Drax doesn't get much to do when it comes to character development. He's just the comic relief, which is fine. Dave Bautista is great, but, about everything. So it leads us to the end. Okay? The end of the film. Gamora goes back with the Ravengers. Peter decides he's going to go to Earth to see his grandfather. Mantis goes off her own direction with the tentacle thingies from the beginning of the second film that helped her out in here. Which leaves the others left on the Guardians on nowhere as the Guardians, and they're dancing. And then Peter goes to Earth to find his grandfather, who's still alive in his 90s. Yeah. Then there's a mid-credit scene that shows us the new Guardians of the Galaxy team. Rocket, Groot, Kraglin, Cosmo, and this little girl, one of the girls that they got, and then alien girls can now speak English, I guess. And Adam Warlock, because they just threw him in there. Nebula and Drax are there because they said they were going to stay on Nowhere and help rebuild. But also, Dave Bautista said this was his last film, so he's done. So, James Gunn purposely left him out of that mid-credit scene. Then the post-credit scene is just going back to Earth with Star-Lord in a scene that was completely ad-libbed. They just let him go for it in that scene. And then it comes up. The legendary Star-Lord will return. Overall, I had my issues with this movie, but I did enjoy it. It was a feel-good, film. But I'm gonna say it's pretty good, but very low. Pretty good, I'm gonna give it a very low pretty good, I should say. But I did enjoy it. I think it's better than the second one. But I don't think it's as better as the first. It's as good as the first one. It says better. It's better than the first one. I don't think it's better than the first one. Is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. Some of that first one I like. Oh, it does tug your heartstrings because in that mid-credit scene they're talking about music, and Rocket's like, I was like this one. He hits the zone and it starts doing that. Come and get your love. Starts playing that song, and I'm like, oh. To you too. The hell. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Leave them in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.